So today I'm going to be sharing something more intimate than I've ever shared before publicly. It's about this. Now, this is a diary that I kept 15 years ago. And it actually documents a period of my life, which was the turning point. So I'm very grateful to have this artifact. And I developed a practice of writing what's called morning papers every single morning for a period of 4 months before a particular life-changing event occurred, and then for a whole year afterwards. And I felt so moved when I read over just recently this book that I wanted to share it with you. So, for starters, the first observation was it was as if this book was written by two completely different people whose commonality was hung by a thread. It was as if there was this, in the before version, there was this character who was there and you could see this potential, but it was pretty unexpressed. I'll give you an example. If I turn to the very first page here, well, for one thing, there's about an average of 6 expletives per page. Staving off anxiety attacks, depressed. Who wrote the script? That's the sort of entry that occurs again and again. There's complaints about stuff, people, things not working, events not working. A lot of complaint in here. Documentation of stress, of negative feelings, negative emotions. There's some positive things as well, but it was really quite a different person than the one that emerged afterwards. And then afterwards, it went down to about 1 expletive per page. It didn't disappear completely. The panic attacks disappeared completely. The stress, the anxiety, the negative emotions disappeared completely. And I wrote some things which really moved me. So afterwards, here's something that I wrote. I feel like I belong. I didn't miss that woman so much today. I was talking about someone who I'd broken up with. I had fun entertaining kids. I was comfortable simply letting conversations unfold. I feel like I like all the other parents on this camp. You know, they may sound like small inconsequential things, but if you'd understood how tough I found it to deal with other people beforehand, you would see that there was some deep significance there. And I'm going to give a bit of a hint of what that life-changing event was. In fact, I'm going to spill the beans. It was 4 days where I dived deep into silent meditation. And I remember meeting 12 years after I wrote this book, a numerologist who read me like a book. Somehow, I don't know how. But he said, look, something happened to you in 2003 that was a pivot in your life. Beforehand, things were pretty messed up. Afterwards, things were pretty much plain sailing for the most part. And I said, yeah, that was that 4-day silent retreat I did. And, you know, sometimes we have a concept in our head. You know, I've done this thing and now I'm different. But to have it confirmed by other people and have it confirmed by myself in this own book was really quite extraordinary. Here's something that I wrote while I was doing this program. Today I tasted fruits I did not know about. And then I describe a process which I have to keep secret because it's part of the course. But then afterwards, my eyes were clear as the ocean, and I realized the beauty that I hold. And I wrote down 5 bits of advice to myself. 1, to remember what happiness and freedom tastes like, and the right work it requires initially, and to return again and again to this until habitual. That's a key point. So doing something for us, requires a little bit of work initially. The second one was to accept people and self as they are. The greatest tragedy is to realize too late one has projected one's own hopes onto another person and therefore not seen them or yourself. Something I've done many times at that point in my life. The third thing was to respond, not react. There is never a right time for judgment, negativity, or jealousy. The fourth thing was to keep traveling towards love and towards the overcoming of fear. Now here's a kicker. That is the only goal in life worth pursuing. All else follows. And the fifth one was to go to all Art of Living events you can, my man. Keep up the practice. Remember how depressed and angst you have been if you need a reason, and how happy you feel now. It combines everything you believe, so tell Richard about it, a friend of mine, and others, which I did. And when the time is right, give back teachings yourself. Which I'm glad to say I have. Here's a poem that I wrote afterwards. I spent 1,000,000 years searching for a girl that don't exist. Each new one that I met just caused my heartache to persist. Yes, I miss your tender kiss, your tender lips, and tenderness. But after this time, you will be my last sweet reminisce. I looked in you for what I couldn't find inside myself. I looked for love. I looked for proof my love was supposed to be. But all alone, a lonely song played in my hollow chest, 'cause I never learnt the art of loving myself best. So that course was really the discovery of how to love myself best. And if you're listening to that and you're thinking, well, you know, I'm doing okay in my life right now. It sounds like you really needed it. I'm not sure that I do. Be mindful that this is just the mind, the small mind, playing tricks on you to keep you where you are. Of course your circumstances are completely different to mine right now. Of course you probably don't have panic attacks and some of the other conditions I described there. Of course, that's not the point. The point is this. When you dive deep into your inner world, when you give time to yourself, you blossom. And the blossomings will be in very different forms. In my form, I met the woman of my dreams, who I'm now married to, have been for 12 years. We have 2 gorgeous daughters together. I'm very lucky to live in a beautiful house, do work that I love. I started a company within a few months of that course. For each person who does this, your experience will be completely different though. So I never make any promises about the specific flavor. But it's just like, imagine if you had 10 times more energy than you currently do. What would you do? What would be possible? What stresses would you no longer have? What worries and anxieties would go from your mind? Imagine if you had 10 times more focus, 10 times more intuition, 10 times more clarity, more certainty, more self-confidence, more self-love. How would that show up in the world? Well, honestly, that's what the course gave me. It 10x'd the most important things in my life. And because I now give back what I myself experienced, I can quite sincerely say, I encourage you to take that same dive for yourself. Find a reason to say yes, to explore the full potential that you're here to express. And the way to do that is not to go outside, it's to go within. And the most glorious way that I've found to go in is the 4-day Art of Living, Art of Silence retreat. It's happening this Easter, and my warm encouragement is you find a way that you can be on it.